Don't feel bad when I'm down, I'ma be okay. This red gon' come right back around, I smack the BOA. Only the members don't come round if you ain't down one. We go back like Tom Brady on a shotgun. Knew I was finna be great when I came out the wound. They hate that I'm a butterfly that came out that cocoon.
I'm gonna show y'all how to take off an intake manifold off of S2K. Hey baby.
Hey baby. Hey baby. Hey baby. Hey baby.
Basically it's the same as any other Honda. Take off the stuff from the top. You want to take off the plastic cover and the fuel lines and whatever vacuum lines. You see the ones going off the top right here. This one right there, PCV, injectors, fuel rail, all that good stuff.
Okay!
The stuff that you know to take off, the intake piping, the map sensor, throttle position sensor. You have to take off throttle cable and all that stuff. So I'm gonna get to it and I'm gonna show you what I'm doing as I'm going. I was gonna see if I could possibly, you know what, you don't have to take off every single thing, just get it spaced enough to slip the gasket on and then put the intake manifold back on. But as you can see, it's kind of a tight squeeze over here. I'm not for sure if I'm gonna be able to do that, but I'm gonna find out. If I can, I'll let y'all know. Hey look, just slip it back or move it back a little bit, put the gaskets, you know gaskets is thin, you know what I'm saying, you don't need a whole lot of room to slip a gasket on. But so far the only tools I use, Phillip, this you probably won't need. I just used it to take this off. I don't know how yours is set up, but mine have that little jig rig on it, and a flat tip screwdriver. Oh, there it is, the one right there. So I got the intake off, slip that off. You might not even have this style intake on your car, but that's the one I have on mine. Take this hose off, just a squeeze. I squeezed it with my finger. Now I'm coming over to the top with a few rails and a few lines, pressure regulator and all that good stuff here. The top part, these two right here, is 10mm, and as you know, to get this PCV, you just squeeze this, flip them off. I'm gonna start working on this, and when I get it all off, I'll show you where I'm at. Got the top part off, that little plastic black piece, 10mm nuts. These right here, 10mm. Is what, 3? There's one here, one there, and there's another one right there, 10mm. Also, these right here for the wire harness, they slip on. To get them off, just pull this tab up, and then slip back off. There's two of them. So this is just to get the wire harness off the fuel rail. And PCV, I just took it from here. No need to do all that squeeze. You take it from there. Take off this fuel line right here. I haven't did it yet, but squeeze. And then once you remove this squeeze piece, just take a pair of pliers, put it around it slightly, and wiggle to that seal break. Once that seal break, this will come off easy. Don't be fighting with it. Just put pliers on it, wiggle it back and forth. Once it starts to spin, you will feel it pop. And when that seal break, these vacuum lines will come off easy. So got these vacuum lines up under here. Once you take the fuel rail up, you might have to take these off. I'm not sure yet, but I'll let you know. We getting it, y'all. We getting it. 10mm here. Try not to take off stuff you don't have to. So far I don't have to take those off, leave them on there. This bracket right here, as you can see, it's bolted to the intake manifold. The side that's bolted to the rail, leave it on there. It'll come up just fine, you know what I'm saying? So what I want to tell you is this fuel line right here. This fuel line, it's that big bolt right there. It's 7/8. It's a big wrench. I used a big wrench, 7/8 to get it off. And just remember, there's a gasket underneath. See that circle thing? The shiny circle piece right here? That's a gasket. Don't lose that. It's two of them. One stayed on the bolt itself, and then one is still right here, the circle piece. I don't know if y'all can see that. It's spinning. That right there, those are seals. Do not lose those. I mean, they could be replaced, but why replace them if you just be careful and don't lose the ones you got. So take them off. I already threw them in the pan. It's not there no more. You gonna leak some gas depending on how long the car been sitting. If you know you gonna be doing this, don't let it sit for a couple hours or a day, whatever the case may be, and you won't have so much fuel leaking out. Mine trickled a little bit. Ain't no way you can stop that. Just keep pushing. So far I got the fuel rail off now, once you get the fuel rail off, you can start to see things a little clearer. This bracket right here, like I say, I haven't removed it yet, but I might take it off. It's easy. Once the rail came off, I could see it connect right here. It's just a simple slide on, so I'll probably take it off. One goes to the intake manifold, the other one goes to the EGR. So just twist them, pull them off. Then this bracket, you can just flip it out of the way. And now you can start seeing the intake manifold bolts. You know, you got some there going across the top. Usually I would get those bolts. Some at the bottom. The ones at the bottom you can't really see still, but that's a different story. To get the one from the bottom, you got to go through the front of the engine, take off the alternator and the tensioner, and then you got to go what through there to get to the bolts at the bottom. So let's do that. I'm gonna take off the EGR. That's another thing. If you want to have a clear view in the back, remove this EGR and you kind of get a better view of what's going on back there. So I'm gonna take it off, see if I can get a better view. As you can see, it's a bolt way back there, right behind the EGR. It'll be easier if all this metal right here was out of the way. So I'm gonna get it out of the way, okay? Okay. All right, so I got the bolts out of the intake manifold at the top. They all go across here. So far, I just want to let y'all know, I haven't used nothing besides a Phillips screwdriver, a flat tip screwdriver, pair of pliers, a 12mm, and a 10mm. That's all I've used so far to get down to here. And this got red writing on it, but it's actually a vacuum line. I thought it was a fuel line at first because of the red writing, but it's a vacuum line. And remember, when you go at these vacuum lines, you can't go at them wrong, because they will show you who's the boss. They'll tear, split, crack, whatever the case may be. What you want to do when you go at them, instead of just pulling on them, don't just straight pull on them. You want to twist them. You hear that click? That click is the seal breaking, and then they come right off. Okay? Do that to every single vacuum line. A lot of this stuff is old and brittle, and if you go at it wrong, it will break on you. Same thing back here. This EGR already took it off. 12mm nuts, and you had this big vacuum line, tube right here. Same thing. Squeeze it, pull it off. You can see that's the squeeze piece down there. I slid it back. Before I start tugging on it and getting mad at it, just twist it. I took these pair of pliers right here. I put a little twist on it, and you hear that seal break. It'll make that. You hear it go.
That nigga crazy.
Once you hear that, the seal is broke. Then you just wiggle it off. Do that for all the vacuum lines to try to avoid tearing them, cracking them, and all that good stuff. So the top is pretty much done besides this back side right here. I took off the accelerator cable. All you gotta do is twist this back, give it some slack, and then this little ball or hammer head shaped thingamajiggy. Once you get the slack in it by pushing it back, all you have to do is push it through this hole. Just slide it through, and it'll come right out. I don't know how many of these vacuum and water lines I gotta disconnect. I haven't got to it yet. First, I'm gonna take off the, I told you needed to take off the alternator and the tensioner, the belt tensioner. To get the belt off, all you do is put I believe it's a 14mm on this tensioner right here. And you pry downward, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna try that right now, and I'll let you know. Oh, and another thing, before you take the belt off, if you don't know how it goes, take a picture. You can see I'm doing videos, so this would be I usually could figure it out anyway, but if you can't, take a picture, and this will let me know how to put it back on, okay? Or you can look at this video and it'll show you how to put it back on. It's loose, but it's not all the way off. Obviously, this go back around there, and they go up and over the tensioner, under the idler pulley, under the crankshaft, straight across to the AC compressor. Then it go under this big one, back around to the alternator. Okay, all right. All right, this is just a close-up of the back side of the alternator. This piece right here is green. This what a connector is. It's just a squeeze and pull. You will squeeze and pull, but obviously mine, it wasn't that easy. You just gotta wiggle, it'll come off. this right here, it's a spade that go over it, and it's a 12mm nut that hold it on. So pull the rubber back, you'll see the nut, 12mm, loosen it, pull the spade off. And then, you know, I already told you about the 2 bolts in the front of the alternator. And then the alternator will be free from those 2 bolts, but you still have to wiggle and pull because it's wedged up in there. And be careful not to smash your finger. I usually always down smash my finger when I'm trying to wiggle this alternator out. So once you get the 2 bolts out, these 2 right here, you still got to wiggle and pull, and it'll slowly come out of place. So the alternator is out, and as you can see, it make an opening where you can go through there. It's a mess back there. Oh man, I don't even. Anyway, where's that bolt that I wanted to show you? I don't even know if I can. Oh yeah, there it go. So that second bolt for that tensioner, it's the second red one back there. You see that way back there? It's that one. It looks scary, but it ain't hard to get to. So you get that one off. You get that one off, and they look like they both, I want to say 14. Give me 1 second, I'll let you know. All right, I was correct. They both are 14s. Before you can get this tensioner off though, remember to remove this 10mm. It's just a mount for this bracket right here. So remove the 10mm from here. Take those 2 red 14s off in the back, and this tensioner come off. And they give you a little more space to get back off up in that intake manifold to get those lower bolts out. And there's your tensioner. Got it all out. Like I said, it's the 2 bolts plus the little 10 in the front. The long bolt you can't pull out because it hit, but it come out just enough to leave the threads, and you can pull it all out. So those are out. And now you can see all the way back there, kind of, sort of, without the birds messed in the way. But see those lower, there you go, those right there, those are the lower intake manifold bolts. There's one there. Mine was actually missing when I added that one there. Then there's one back there, then one all the way in the back. All right, so those 4 gotta come out. That's what I'm going for. But as you in here, as you all up in here, let me see if I can get a view. All right, you see that purplish green sensor back there? Stay away from it. That's your knock sensor. It's expensive and very brittle. When I say brittle, brittle.
Yeah, boy.
They will break at the slightest touch. Try to stay away from it, or you will add another item to your to-do list, okay? So try to stay away from that and don't break it. Let's get these lower bolts out. All right, I got the bolts from underneath. You look up under there, they're not in there no more. But we to the part where if there's anything about this job that'll make you want to cry, well, we there now. It's a bolt way in the back underneath, and I don't even know if I can show it to you, man. It's so far up in there. Anyway, yeah, boy. Yeah, I might not be able to show it to you, but I'm gonna show you where you can get to it. All right, you have the EGR. You still got all this metal from the EGR. What you got to do is, see this gap right here? It's a gap right there, and it's a sensor back there that's going into the thermostat housing. Look between this gap and above this big black rubber piece that's going into the thermostat housing. But look going that way, of course, towards the intake manifold, and you'll see a bolt back there just, you know what I'm saying, just hiding out, man. I can't even get the camera down up under there to show you where that bolt is, but just for reference, it's right up under this one. Okay, so it's a bolt right up under here, but to get to it, I don't even know if it's gonna actually work. But what I'm gonna do, I'm going up and over that sensor right there I'm telling you about, but with a the swivel. I'm gonna try to use a swivel to go up and over that sensor back there and onto that bolt. If it works, I'll let you know. If it don't work, we gotta figure it out. It's only one bolt that's keeping this intake manifold connected to the head. Okay, so we one bolt away. One bolt, man. Well, would you look at that, man? My wife is the best. She called me inside so I can eat some breakfast. You know, sometimes all you gotta do is take a break, man. I know that one bolt back there, I gotta get it off. You get frustrated. I haven't tried yet, but there's times you get frustrated. You want to tear up the whole garage.
Ain't nothing better to do but to just to do it.
All you gotta do is take a break. Got some hot chocolate, a little Smapple juice. Beautiful family, you know what I'm saying? We all in here chilling and stuff. I'm gonna go and tear this up and we'll continue on where I left off. It's my beautiful wife. Say hi. Hi, beautiful. Hi. What you want? Mama or dada? No, dada. I want to point out, you could take everything off this intake manifold, but it's one thing that you might overlook, because I overlooked. I took off the upper and the lower bolts. That one in the back that I was telling you have to go under, the EGR bracket or whatever the case may be, I had that loose. But once I got it loose, I was like, man, this thing still ain't moving as freely as it should. Come to find out, it's a bracket on here that supports the entire intake manifold. And this bracket bolts to the engine block. It's in the rear of the intake manifold. It's this big 14mm nut. You're gonna have to loosen that, remove that bolt, raise the car, and underneath it's another 14mm bolt that actually bolts to the side of the engine block. So I was hoping I can get this thing off without raising the car, but it looked like that ain't gonna happen. Once I get the car in the air and take that bolt out from underneath and remove that bracket, I'll show you where that lower bolt is. Alright, I'm already on the ground. As you can see, I got the car raised in the air. If you go underneath, driver's side, and you look up under here, that's the lower part of the bracket. That's another 14mm. Gotta knock that off. So 14mm, take that bolt out. It's on the side. You gonna see some ground wires. That's the starter right there. These are some ground wires right, well, a ground wire right here, and also a ground wire right there. It's gonna be a fuel line, and then right to the right. That 14mm you have to take out, because that's the bracket that goes to the intake manifold. So remove that, and then the intake manifold should free up and you'll be able to put that gasket on. I loosened the intake manifold and it's already leaking. This is the side it's always been leaking on. It used to drip off the transmission, just how it is now. Also, that lower bolt in the rear next to the firewall, it was greenish, like coolant been hitting it and dripping off of it. So I know that's the problem. Once I pull the intake manifold back and check that gasket, I do believe that's where my leak is coming from. But once again, 14mm, pull that dang on thing out, man. I got the gasket out. It's the intake manifold gasket. It's that Honda thermal one. It's like a hard plastic. And as I suspected, this is the water for the thermostat housing. If you look right here, boom, it's cracked. And that's where the water was leaking out at. So I knew it's also cracked up top right here. But I don't think that's a problem because the water is below. And that's just a bolt hole, so that probably wasn't the issue. The issue was down here where the water passage was, and it's cracked and water seeping through. So I'm glad to see that. I didn't go through all this work for nothing. That came off. I'm gonna show you at the top. As you can see, the intake manifold is pretty much still in there. As I told you before, all I need is a gap so I can work. Pull that gasket out, put the new one in, put it back. But of course, I'm gonna clean it up in there and try to wipe it down some, clean up, get some of that carbon out of there. But I'm not swapping intake manifold, so there's no need to take every single thing off. You just want to take off what's in the way that's stopping you from doing what you're trying to do. I didn't even have to take off this accelerator cable. I could have left that on there. But all these hoses and things over here, the radiator hose and thermostat hose and all that, I left all that on there. All I did was take off what needed to be taken off in order for me to slide this thing back, and that's just what I did. And if you look in there, my dumb ass dropped some plastic. You see that plastic in there? That's down in there by the head. I don't know if you can see that, but that fell in. That's not good. But anyway, I'm gonna clean this thing off and put that the new gasket on. And you know, take it from there. All I need is some needle nose pliers. Oh, you can see it now. Get some needle nose pliers in there, pick it out of there. That's it. But you don't want to be dropping stuff down in there. That's a valve. I don't know if you can see that clear, but it fell right on top of the valve stem. No, you can't even tell. But let me clean this up and get this thing back together, man. And that bracket, I didn't even remove it completely. I am, but for now, you can see it right there. I just loosened it at the bottom and the top, moved it out of the way, because it's also connected to some electrical wires, and one of them is that big main harness is connected to it. So instead of playing with it and all that, I just moved it out of the way. So it's still there, but I'm taking it off and I ain't even putting it back, okay? So the choice is yours. Alright, I don't know if you can see that, but I cleaned up in the valves, cleaned around the ports. This top part I'll get later because I don't want to knock that loose debris off into the head. So once the intake manifold is back on, then I'll go after the stuff that's on that little ledge right here, because that stuff is like sand and all kind of stuff. So I'm gonna leave that alone. You want to clean it so the gasket will sit you know, sit flush. So I cleaned that up a little bit, and then also on the, I don't know if I'll be able to, if you look in there, I cleaned the intake manifold. See how the ports are cleaner than what they was when I first pulled it back, and all I used was carburetor cleaner. This is Super Tech from Walmart. It's inexpensive. If you're gonna be working on your own cars, always keep a can of carburetor cleaner or brake cleaner. It's the same thing, strong enough to clean and start your car, so you can't go wrong, man. It always come in handy. So I'm gonna get that gasket, put it back in there, seal this thing back up. This is the new gasket. It's by D&J. I didn't know who they was, but before I bought it, I looked them up online, and so far they had nothing but good reviews. They made gaskets and rebuild kits for engine, piston rings and head gaskets and things of that nature. So I'm gonna give them a shot, and hopefully they don't let me down, but I'm not worried about it. Hey, so this the new gasket. It's metal. I thought it was paper, but it's actually metal. And as you can see, it's a whole lot thinner than these thermal ones. The thermal ones are thick, and the reason being, they take the intake manifold, or the if you can get them for your throttle body, and they push it away from the surface of like the intake manifold, and it's supposed to keep the temperature down on your throttle body and your intake manifold. So that's why they make them thick and out of this plastic. But like I say, the gains you get is very minute.
No shit.
So I'm not worried about it. I'm trying to get away from these water leaks. The install is just the reverse of how you take it off. So I'm not gonna record everything putting it back together. It's just the opposite of taking it off. So once I get it back together and the car is running, I record that. Alright, before I sew this thing back up, this gasket fit perfect. Good thing it has these studs up top. You just set them on a stud. There's one in the front, one in the back right there. Set it on the stud, it'll hold it in place. All you have to do is pick up the intake manifold like that and just set it on top of the stud. Line everything up and start setting bolts in. Start threading them on in, and as you can see, that gasket fit perfect. It's right over that bolt hole. You can see the threads at the top. So I'm gonna put this thing back together. I'm sitting in the engine bay. I got my little ass in the engine bay, just sitting here. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Use this little body of mine to my advantage. I just came back from taking it for a test spin. Everything went successful. I'm not leaking no more water, at least not at the moment. I just got to drive a little bit more just to make sure the water leak doesn't come back. But at this point in time, there is no more water leaks. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. If you can, I'll catch y'all in the next one because I'm always doing something.
It's time to eat.
Well, let's go eat then.
You always out here.
I know, right?
This ain't over.